The Ecowas Parliament is marking its 25th anniversary, a silver jubilee that celebrates a quarter century of West Africa's push forward regional unity and integration.
Absolutely. It was established in 2000. Now, the Parliament started with 15 member states and with a simple idea to give West Africans a voice in the regional decisions that shape their lives.
The vision actually began earlier in the 1993 Ecowas revised treaty. The protocol was signed in 1994 and it officially came into force in 2002, laying the foundation for the parliament we know today.
And today, that ECOWAS Parliament has 115 seats. Now, each member country is guaranteed 5 seats, while the rest are shared based on their population. So giving the region a balanced and representative voice.
And its mandate is to strengthen democracy, promote peace and security, and sensitize citizens on ECOWAS policies and integration efforts.
It has also become a platform for dialogue, an advisory body, and an oversight mechanism on regional issues, now from trade to security, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, Claire, over the years, it has played important roles in election observation, conflict resolution, and legislative advocacy across West Africa.
But it has not been without challenges. Limited powers, inadequate funding, constant need for capacity building among its members, and so on and so forth.
Still, from modest beginnings as an advisory institution, the Parliament has grown into a central player in shaping West Africa's regional agenda.
So today, as it marks 25 years, we will take a deeper look at its journey, the giants it has made, the hurdles ahead, and of course the future of the regional cooperation within the community.
So join us as we reflect on the impact, the ambitions, and the next chapter of the ECOWAS Parliament. I am Ademola Adeoye. Always a pleasure having you join us.
And I'm Claire Adelabu Abdul Razak. Thank you for joining us. And you're watching us on the network service of the NTA, broadcasting live from our studio here in Abuja. All right, welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service. To begin our conversation this morning on ECOWAS Parliament at 25, here is a background report put together by correspondent Ibrahim Bello Gunda.
In its 50 years of existence, the Economic Community of West African States ECOWAS institutions have played a key role in economic development, regional integration, peace, and security of the region. For 25 years, ECOWAS Parliament continues to expand its influence on the West African political scene, particularly with regards to parliamentary cooperation, management of political crises, and promotion of West African integration. The Parliament occupies a strategic position in the integration process. As representatives of the people, their role is important, not only in terms of the representation of the views of the community citizens, but also in terms of explaining to them the effort of the community to improve their well-being. For unity and perseverance, honoring the legacy of the founding fathers to build an inclusive and cohesive West Africa where people live in peace and harmony is still achievable as ECOWAS Parliament clocks 25 years of service to the region. What role should the Parliament play in ensuring economic security and political stability of the region? What framework should the Parliament draft to see the countries that left the regional bloc return? And how effective has the Parliament been in the past 25 years? These and more are some of the questions guests on Good Morning Nigeria will find answers to as we discuss ECOWAS Parliament at 25.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim, for that background report. And to start our conversation, on the Ecowas Parliament at 25. Let's introduce our guests that are already seated in the studio. And the first is Senator Ita Enang, is a former presidential advisor, National Assembly. It's a pleasure to have you, Senator Enang.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
All right. Also joining us via Zoom, from our studio in Jos, is Kopep Dabugad, is civil society expert and international affairs analyst. Dabugad, it's good to have you join us. Dabugad, it's good to have you join us.
It's always a pleasure to be here.
All right, we also have another guest joining us via Zoom, but all the way from Sierra Leone. We have Honorable Veronica Sise. She's the president of the women's group in Parliament, that's the ECOFEPA, and also chair of the Gender Committee. Honorable, thank you very much. We're glad you could join us for this conversation.
Good morning. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay, Honorable, let's just begin the conversation. I would like you to tell us because we know that there have been some challenges, especially in the region, with the takeover. Okay, we know that there have been some challenges, especially in some ECOWAS countries lately with the takeover by the military. But then that doesn't preclude that there have been some significant achievements of the ECOWAS in the past 25 years. Can you tell us what are the most significant achievements of the ECOWAS Parliament promoting regional integration and democracy in West Africa over the past 25 years?
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me this morning. I am the president for the female caucus in the ECOWAS Parliament, and also the chairperson for gender and women's empowerment and people with disability. Well, since the inception of Parliament in 1975 to present, I think we have done a great deal. And also, I'm happy to be here because my country is a beneficiary for the formation of the ECOWAS Parliament, for the formation of Parliament of ECOWAS as a whole. And during the time of the war in Sierra Leone, we had a host of members going to assist the Sierra Leone during the war, and also Liberia, but I will talk about Sierra Leone. So it was very good. They intervened. The intervention helped us greatly to stop the war. And coming back to Parliament, I have been there since the 5th Parliament, and I believe we have done it, and we are trying, in as much as we have lost almost 4 now of our member states, and that we are still yearning and crying for them, because until we are together we will achieve, if we are talking about West Africa. So we are still yearning and we are still praying so that they can join us. Well, coming back to my area, the ECOFEPA, bringing women together, bringing women on board, this has been our cry. And other countries are helping to achieve the 30% of female representation in Parliament, because we women can do it. We are partners in development, so we want to see more women instead of male-dominated. This has been our cry, and I think we are there. We are now 26.6% of female representation in Parliament, and we have achieved to have the first female. Within these 25 years, we have the first female speaker in Parliament, not less surprising than our able speaker of Togo, Haja Memunatu Ibrahim. That is a bravo for the people of West Africa, talking about the Parliament. because it was very difficult for a woman to come so far since 2020, since the 25th year. So that's some of the achievements, and we are helping other countries in terms of war, in terms of disasters, and so many other things. So I think we have done a great deal, and trying to bring, some of the activities together so you can help, because it's when you sneeze, the other country in the West Africa region will suffer the cold. So we wouldn't want it to happen. So that is why we are together as Ecowas, so that we can see and reason, like what has happened recently in Guinea-Bissau. We are fighting it hard so that we can try to do something and do our own intervention. This is what we are doing so far to bring us together to integrate the community.
All right, Honorable Veronica Sise, thank you. I will still stay with you, but I'd like to provide, a platform really before, we look at some of the achievements you have talked with regards to gender, advocacy. We know that the Ecowas Parliament is one of the key organs of, of Ecowas, and it's supposed to help, implement the core objectives of the Ecowas as a body, which includes integration, regional integration, provision of peace and security, and also tackling other issues of insecurity that afflict the region. How would you say, or how would you describe the relevance of ECOWAS Parliament today? How has it aligned its core objectives with local realities in individual member states?
Thank you. That's why we have committees that are responsible for some of these things that we are talking about. My own responsibility as the chairperson is to deal with the gender aspect. And there is another committee that is responsible for peace and in the other sub-regions. So this is where we are. It is set. We have different committees to tackle different problems in the sub-region. So it will be relevant to have invited the chairperson for peace and security, so that he can elaborate so far what they have been doing and what are the achievements, and maybe they will have challenges in trying to tackle some of these challenges. And in my own area, talking about peace and the involvement of women, that is where we are, to make sure we have 30% of female representation in ECOWAS Parliament, and also to see the areas that have not reached to that climax, to encourage the particular community or the country so that they can copy from the other countries to achieve what we are fighting for. But in terms of peace, I think it is relevant for the committees that is charged with the responsibility to probe in some of these things. But as far as I'm concerned, ECOWAS have been doing it, because when we come from our various countries, we come with our country reports. You present your report, you read it, you deliberate it. We all deliberate it in the plenary. Then, if there are areas to tackle, they will channel it to the particular committee that is charged with that responsibility, so that they can handle it. If it is to go there for feasibility, if it is to go there to make peace, to bring peace to the particular community, that will be their responsibility. And in terms of, like what I said initially, disasters, there are other committees that are responsible. We have this delocalized meeting that we rotate. Committees will come, we peer together. So they will go to the particular area. That is why we say West Africa. We just don't want to bring everything to Nigeria. We rotate during our extraordinary meetings, and also about when we are delocalized. We go to the various localities to see, after their report has been laid, to see what is there, to see the first-hand informations. So we tackle it from there. That is what we do so far.
Let me say, since you want to stay on gender advocacy, ma'am, Honorable, let me also ask you, I remember a landmark, quote from Ed Miliband. We know he was a parliamentarian in the Labour Party sometime. And he talked about how his government, changed male-dominated system with women who were shortlisted. And he said, and they are glad that was done. But in Africa, coming down to West Africa, the sub-region, we find that, yes, there have been significant, robust push for gender, equality. It is growing, but it's still not there. What kind of laws is ECOWAS Parliament, churning out? And how are you ensuring that these laws align with national, or is domesticated, by member countries, so that the gender parity that you are fighting for is achieved?
Well, that is why the theme of this year stated it that our theme of this year is advancing women's proportional representation in governance. This is what we are fighting for until and unless we go to the proportional representation. Because stating what we have said, coming to what we have said about the individual, about talking about male domination, dominated communities or dominated parliament, unless we have proportional representation, that is what we are advocating for. And that is what is needed, because if you go back to first past the post, it will be the same result. Like what made us to have that 30% achievement in Sierra Leone is the proportional representation. And that is the law that we are yearning for. We are asking the community, the other countries, member countries, to put that into law to have a proportional representation or safe seats for women, like what they did in Rwanda. We should have safe seats for women or the proportional representation. And not only the proportional representation, it should be by number. Sometimes if you say proportional representation, like what we did in Sierra Leone is 2:1. Every 2 male, 1 woman. Every 2 male, 1 female. But that one is difficult again to achieve, because sometimes the number you be placed, maybe the other country, the other political party will have the percentage. So it's very difficult. It's difficult. What we are saying is the proportional representation. There are so many parts that you can do. Maybe zipper system or one male, 1 female in the system. Then we want it to be taken to the political parties association, like the PPRC, and even the political parties, to make sure to send lists that women are visible. If the list is not completed and women are not visible, or 30% of women are not in that list, the PPRC should not receive, neither NEC should not receive that particular list. Until we do that, that is what we want to pen in the black and in our constitutions in the various communities, and that is what we will be debating on. We will appeal to the male counterparts, because sometimes the male counterparts will say, no, why do you want to stress on women's representation in parliament? And why do you want safe seats? Let us go and fight for the seats. But they are stronger than us. We cannot do it. They are stronger than us. We cannot fight. We don't have money. That are some of the reasons. So that is why we want this year's team to be deliberated on as the women's empowerment and the proportional representation, if really we want women to be represented in governance.
Thank you very much, Honorable Veronica Sese, for your opening remarks there. You have helped us to lay a good foundation for this discussion. The men are stronger, but the women too have a lot to contribute to the development of the continent. So we'll be back to you, but let's come back to the studio now, where we have Honorable Senator Ita Enang. You've listened to what Honorable Sisse just said, and we're looking at the achievement of the ECOWAS Parliament in the past 25 years. Although there have been some challenges, especially in 4 countries lately, the latest being in the Guinea-Bissau, which the military just took over. So, but what are some of the major achievements that you would be able to point to that, I mean, it has helped the continent to move forward?
Well, let me join in congratulating Economic Community of West African States and then the Parliament of the ECOWAS Parliament for attaining 25 years. And Nigeria has been very instrumental to its stability and the attainment that it has made. First, it has several times presided over its affairs as the president of the country, and then it has provided the hosting, the headquarters of the ECOWAS, and then the parliament itself. And the wisdom, procedure, and stability of the Nigerian parliament has also been the strength of the ECOWAS parliament. So I congratulate the parliament for attaining 25 years. Again,
when you say wisdom procedure, what do you mean by that?
I beg your pardon?
When you say wisdom procedure of the Nigerian parliament has contributed to
at the beginning, I think the year 2000, when we started the parliament, was at least the time that the Nigerian parliament came, the Fourth Republic, started, and we hosted it, and the president of the parliament were provided by Nigeria, and then we adopted part of our rules to be part of the foundation of the parliament in the course of fashioning their own rules. As of today, the ECOWAS parliament has stabilized, and but there is also a big problem, and that big problem is for Nigeria. The problem is that in December 2016, there was the Constitutive Act supplemental to the protocol, where the President Buhari, with other presidents, agreed that the representation in the parliament should be by universal adult suffrage. That is that to be a member of the ECOWAS parliament, you should be elected directly by the election procedure of your country.
Okay.
Before now, it was stated that pending the election, that the representatives from the national parliament could still represent. But as of today, the period of grace has seemed to elapse. And so there is a question as to Nigeria's presence in the legitimacy or otherwise of Nigeria's presence in the ECOWAS parliament, in view of the fact that we have not, by universal adult suffrage, directly elected our 35 members to the parliament. They are taken from the national parliament, that is the National Assembly. And it has also evolved in a very significant manner, because there were these observations that members of the parliament were not attending the plenary of the parliament. And so the new set of rules adopted, I think, 2024, so we had also stated that if you lose about 1/3 of your presence, that you are declared to have lost your seat. So one of the most other important things that the ECOWAS Parliament has done, which is questionable, is very questionable, is that under the recently adopted rules, it states that in view of the inability of countries, or where countries are unable to send in their representatives by universal adult suffrage, they shall continue to be represented by nominees from the
National Assembly.
National Assembly.
Yes.
But there is a big fundamental question. You cannot give powers that you don't have, because the Ecowas Parliament itself is ruled by the Constitutive Act. And so no rules of the legislature can overrule an act itself that constitutes you.
Okay.
So the ECOWAS rules adopted by members who, with the greatest respect, their presence there may be questionable because they have not come in accordance with the Constitutive Act, which requires their being elected in accordance with the electoral procedure of their country. You know, simply put, Nigeria ought not to be represented as of today by members of the state or National Assembly elected, because the provision in their rule says they shall be elected from within the members of the parliament.
Okay.
They cannot, those rules cannot give powers to the legislature when the Constitutive Act is like the Constitution versus an act. The Constitution is superior. Mm-hmm. It's like the law versus the rules. The law is superior. Mm-hmm. So Nigeria, I will urge the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Attorney General of the Federation, the Presidency, to take a look at this matter, because it affects the legality of the presence of Nigeria, the 35-man delegation of Nigeria at the ECOWAS Parliament. It is a very serious matter.
Please, I need you to clarify this, because it touches on the legislative legitimacy of members of the Parliament.
Yes.
I know that the EU, in the EU Parliament,
yes,
members are directly elected by the citizens
yes,
of the EU.
Yes.
But this is not what it is with our ECOWAS Parliament. Is that what it is? Is that what it should be now?
That is what the law, the Constitutive Act, provides. That is what it provides, that they shall be directly elected. In fact, in one of the memos I made to the authorities, I've made 2-3 memos on this matter to the authorities. I will just want to be fluid enough to say at the authorities. I have said that we should divide Nigeria into 35 constituencies and then find out which state has the highest officer in the ECOWAS Parliament, and then credit that state with, assuming you have the Secretary General,
okay,
assuming, credit that state with that president, and then let every state, including the Federal Capital Territory, have 1 member each.
But how does this affect the responsibilities of members in the Parliament? Or does it?
To be a member of the Parliament, you must have been properly there. And you must have been there in accordance with the law that allows you to be there. Nigeria's presence in the ECOWAS Parliament as of today is simply permissive. Is permissive. It's like they're looking at the law and saying, "Na big man, Nigeria should be bigger than this."
What I'm asking, distinguished Senator, is regardless of how
we are there.
Yes, we're there. The responsibilities that representatives, the parliamentarians, are supposed to carry out. Does how Nigeria, got there? Does it affect it? Does it affect what Nigeria should be doing?
No,
it doesn't.
Because it is honored to be present there. So it doesn't affect the legality or otherwise of the product of that parliament.
That's
It's
why,
just a
yes.
it's just a process
So
that
that's
is
why I want us to move ahead.
Yes.
Okay.
Having established the fact
Yes,
that,
yes.
see, this is a lacuna which Nigeria ought to
Cure. But I believe
yes.
that because there are persons who are interested, public interest litigation, in taking this matter to Ecowas, to the Ecowas court,
Okay.
to declare whether Nigeria and some other countries which have this, I think 2 other countries have this problem, ought to be there, or whether the 35 seats of Nigeria are vacant.
Okay, let's
Go to
go to
Jos.
Jos and bring in, of course,
Dabugat.
Mr. Kopep. Mr. Kopep, again, I like to, I like to refer to a statement made by, again, another parliamentarian in the UK, his description of, parliamentarian or parliamentary system. And he said it is usually the most visible but exaggerated example of how society is changing. I want you to write on that. And that was, I think, by Catherine Anderson. If we write on that, can you tell us, do you think that ECOWAS Parliament is relevant today in terms of its alignment with the objectives and realities, today's realities in member states?
Well, thank you so much for having me, and together with the distinguished Senator Ita Enang, as well as Honorable Veronica Sise from Sierra Leone. It's always very good to interact with people from across the region. Well, in terms of the relevance of the ECOWAS Parliament, I would want to start by talking about the functions of the ECOWAS Parliament very clearly, and then perhaps also talk about what a parliament is supposed to do. From the treaty, from the Constitutive Act of the ECOWAS and the revised treaty of 1993, and then, of course, as I said, the Constitutive Act of the ECOWAS Parliament, it clearly defines the functions of the Parliament, and it defines that the Parliament, the ECOWAS Parliament, is supposed to be one of the various organs of ECOWAS, which, along with the Community Court of Justice, the ECOWAS Bank for Investment, and also the ECOWAS Commission, as well as the specialized bodies. So these are the organs of the ECOWAS. You see, the ECOWAS is a regional integration body, which is supposed to be a process. Regional integration is a process whereby countries come together closely. So there are different benchmarks there. And for the ECOWAS in particular, one of the benchmarks was the establishment of the ECOWAS Parliament. In the establishment of the ECOWAS Parliament also, there are several steps towards bringing in the Parliament coming fully into place. At the moment, and that is since 25 years ago when it was established, the ECOWAS Parliament only has the advisory component as its own way of inputting into the ECOWAS, meaning that its resolutions are at best only advisory to the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State, to the ECOWAS Commission, to all the other institutions of the ECOWAS. And that is very significant because a legislature is supposed to have three principal functions. One is representation. It is supposed to represent a certain constituency. Two, it is supposed to make laws and, review laws within the country or within the body. And thirdly, it is supposed to carry out oversight functions. So far, it is only the oversight function mandate that has been activated for the ECOWAS Parliament. So you see that the ECOWAS Parliament is not complete in terms of its appearance as a legislature. Secondly, the ECOWAS Parliament, the members are not elected directly. You know, it is significant because it does not provide direct input or entry points for the citizens of the country into the ECOWAS Parliament. Most of the, or should I say, all the representatives within the ECOWAS Parliament were actually elected, or in this case, selected from their national parliaments. And even after being selected, it is not as if it is there is a logical process towards selecting them. It is more or less like an appointment that is given by the government. So in general terms, we would say that the people are not really represented in the agenda for the ECOWAS Parliament. You know, so in that regard, you can, you know, dispute the fact that the ECOWAS Parliament may actually represent the interests of the people, because it is more or less a horse trading kind of arrangement, because their resolutions are not, you know, and do not have the force of law. They are advisory. At the same time, they are not being representative of a people, unlike the European Parliament, for example, where there are specific constituencies for all the representatives on the ECOWAS Parliament and the European Parliament. But here we have a group of legislators from the national level appointed to the regional level, and aside from their local allowances, they are even given allowances at the regional level as members of the ECOWAS Parliament. So, I mean, it sounds like the citizens are being shortchanged because their voice never finds its way into the ECOWAS Parliament.
All right, Kopep, thank you. We will return to you. We've been joined by Senator Mao Ohuabunwa, former leader of House of Reps, former treasurer, ECOWAS Parliament, and presently Pro-Chancellor and Chairman, Governing Council of the University of Port Harcourt. Senator Ohuabunwa, thank you very much for joining us. I'll quickly just ask you, the ECOWAS Parliament is 25. What exactly is it celebrating? Can you share with us? All right, we do apologize. I guess this is part of the the weather, you know. This, yes, the technical.
The heat.
Yes, we hope to reestablish contact with the senator.
Maybe
yes.
just go to Honorable Senator. Veronica, Sise. Honorable Sise, I mean, a lot of grounds have been laid concerning ECOWAS here, especially when it comes to the process of selection of members to the parliament, which is fraught with a lot of challenges. But how can you just tell us? Oh, okay.
I guess these are the things we will not.
Okay, she's back. She's back.
We don't allow these glitches.
Yes. We just heard that she's back. Okay. Honorable Sise, I was just going to ask you that. I mean, so far, how has the Parliament, contributed, especially when we're talking about conflict resolution and peace building in the region?
Well, that's where we are now. In a conflict resolution, you need to find the root cause. And that is why we have the committee that is charged, as I earlier on said, is charged with the responsibility to go and probe. We first of all need to know the root cause of the particular problems. before you try to solve it. You cannot just take decision because you are parliament. You say, let us just go, we are ECOWAS parliament. If this has happened, go and use force, go and use this. You have to take it systematically, and you have to be careful how to handle things. And in a conflict resolution, you go first, you try to meet the people, meet the disadvantaged and the advantaged people, so that you can get the first-hand information. And that is what ECOWAS is doing. Like right now, the debate is going to start for especially the one that has happened recently. We are going to debate on it to see how it happens, because we are having 3 groups to tell us the so far what they have done. The ones that went for observation, and I'm talking for the recent one, the one that went for observation, and the people on the ground, and the committee on this peace and conflict resolution. We hear from them, then we probe, because we are waiting for the reports. We read the reports, we look into the report, what went on, then we can debate and take action. You just don't have to go there and just start to say, go and do this, go and do this. That is what we do. And as I earlier on said, conflict resolution. Within now, these 25 years, from that time to 23 years in Sierra Leone, because charity begins at home. I will tell you the profits or the benefits we have made so far. And we'll start in my country. That is why we are in ECOWAS. You talk about your country. So you bring your problems to the country. Like during the interregnum, I know the role that the ECOMOG played in the lives of the Sierra Leoneans. That is why we always appreciate Nigeria. They are our elder brothers. They did very well. Their interventions made us to return into democratic rule of the country. And because you cannot go into another country and tell exactly what they are doing. You don't know their constitution, you don't know their rules and regulations. So the best you can do is to talk about your own country and compare it to the rest of the countries. And when their intervention in terms of peace and reconciliation, they did very well. And that is the good part of the ECOWAS Parliament and of the ECOWAS Parliament, and also the intervention of the younger, because we are talking about peace and conflict resolution. They send their observers there. ECOWAS send their observers there. They listen to Sierra Leoneans, they listen to Guineans, and to see how they can settle problems. Because if there's any problem in Guinea, obviously the whole ECOWAS will be shattered, because they need to pay attention to what has happened, like what we are paying attention now to Guinea-Bissau. It's really unfortunate. It's really unfortunate because this is 25 years. And this is the time that we want to come and show our relevance, what we have achieved so far. Just within few days, then there is another takeover. This is the disheartening part of it. Because we should be talking about where 23 and 25 years we have achieved this, and this is what so far only 3 countries that have gone, and we are trying to bring them back. But now it's +1 again. We are starting again. We are starting to see what is going on. That is what we want to say. Very soon, if we don't solve that, it might happen other place, and this is why we want to tackle. And right now, the chairman is there in the chairman by the name of our president, His Excellency Dr. Julius Madabio, is there engaging, having dialogue. It's all about peace and conflict resolution. This is what so far we are doing. And also the post-election conflicts and threats. Even in Sierra Leone, the post-election threats, it's still continuing. And that is what ECOWAS is looking into, and when each time we bring your reports, because every country needs to bring their reports, and even as at now, we are bringing our various countries' reports. They will look into the countries' reports and try to see whether you have solved this, what you brought the last time, whether it had been solved or is still continuing. So until we do these ones, then we are together as one family.
Okay, just to stay with you still, before we come back to Senator Itainang here with us in the studio. And I'm glad that Mr. Dabugat, outlined the core functions of the Ecowas Parliament, among the other organs, making laws, reviewing those laws, and of course carrying out oversight functions and all that. So within this, perspective, I'm just wondering if the ECOWAS Parliament has considered some of the instruments, that ECOWAS, has, like the protocol, for instance. Is this still, does this still align with present realities? You look at the convention, for instance. Is it also, does it capture the present security challenges? And what is ECOWAS Parliament, doing about all of this?
We have not changed anything. We continue with what has been placed, what has been at first. We don't deviate. We take from there and to try to modify or to try to bring new things to add on what is there presently. And ECOWAS is doing this. And that is why what has happened recently, we have let the others, we do scale of preference. We start to see which one is pressing, which one is second, although everyone is a challenge. Because if there are conflicts in these four regions, these four countries, we need to bring them together. So, but as sequence, this present one is what we are now focusing on to see how we can bring sanity for the people. We care for the people in terms of health, food, and security, especially for the children and women. That is my grounds. So we need to see how they are. If there's no problem, what is going on? If their security is paramount, that is what we are talking about. We are going to talk about during our debate for these recent happenings in Guinea-Bissau. And ECOWAS is working towards aligning the protocol to match with the contemporary issues that has been happening. There's no change.
Okay, sorry, I want the Senator Ita. I asked this question because beautiful. The ECOWAS protocol on free movement, has done quite a lot, achieved a lot in terms of integration, but it also created inadvertently, though, loopholes for a lot of smuggling across borders, porous borders. Now, if you look at the Sahel region, it has been designated as the most dangerous, transit for arms smuggling and all that, which come into the country. But we also have the ECOWAS Convention on Small Arms and Light Weapons, which is a very comprehensive and robust framework for dealing with small arms and light weapons. Now, isn't this, I'm just wondering, the ECOWAS Parliament, isn't the ECOWAS Parliament supposed to be reviewing some of these instruments to align with modern realities? That's just why I asked that question.
Well, even countries, irrespective of the protocol, when your internal security is challenged, you can take actions of a municipal nature that protects your own internal security. I'm sure we all remember when we had food security challenge, we closed our borders.
Yes, but there was also outcry from member countries.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, but we need that is the protocol allows you to take the best decision that can guarantee your own security, because it is only the living that can praise the Lord. If you are no more existing, then there is nothing called treaty or protocol. Mm-hmm. After all, if you are no more a democratic country, you can no more have a seat or sustain your seat in the ECOWAS Parliament. Mm-hmm. So it is extremely necessary, considering the ECOWAS treaty and protocols on small arms and light weapons, compared to ECOWAS free movement protocol. that you balance the interests of each country. Countries like Chad, Niger, Mali, they have this challenge from the fallout of the Libyan crisis. They were the victims, and now Nigeria is the victim because they have overrun those other countries that acted like buffer in the Sahel for Nigeria. Now, so it is necessary for us to review this. I would appreciate that. Yes, Nigeria, in addition to the arm that has come in from the Sahel, we also have our own internally, locally made weapons. We also have situations of most of these weapons coming in through the vessels, through the waters. So it is not only from that area, that arms is coming in. So the best is for us to take the best steps, municipally and regionally, that can control small arms and light weapons.
What can the parliament do, given that their resolutions are basically advisory and not binding on member countries?
Now, it is not that it is not binding. It is binding, but quasi, it has a merely persuasive effect in some cases. But a situation where you have the national parliament of those countries, and then you have the representatives of those countries in the regional parliament, some of them do not take what is the national interest, what they call national interest of your country, into account in making presentations on the floor of the regional parliament.
Okay.
So this is a challenge on its own. This is a challenge on its own. But be that as it may.
But why is that? Isn't that what it's supposed to be? I mean, it's a community of people.
This is what it's supposed to be. But definitely, it is not what it is. But let me comment the case of Nigeria. Because Nigeria, I happen to work with closely in the course of my works with the ambassador, with the persons who are like the representative of Nigeria at the diplomatic level to ECOWAS Parliament. There are almost always memos to the legislators on Nigeria's position on different matters, but that can be, but then it's not followed through. So a lot of other things.
All right, thank you. We just gathered that Senator Nwabua is back. So let's have your contribution to the achievement so far of the ECOWAS Parliament in the past 25 years.
Yeah, like I said earlier, first let me congratulate the ECOWAS Parliament for their silver jubilee, and also the ECOWAS itself for their 50th anniversary. I want to state clearly that we have every reason to celebrate for this 25 years, looking at where we are coming from. Before now, before the democratization of ECOWAS sub-region, we had only the ECOWAS Secretariat. Then through the treaty and implementation of the treaty, the founding fathers, especially the presidents then of Nigeria, Olusegun Obasanjo, and Konare of Mali, made it a point of duty that the other arms of the ECOWAS must be established. That is the ECOWAS Parliament and the Court of Justice. The ECOWAS Parliament, which was inaugurated in Mali in 2000. Then in 2001, we came for our first plenary session in Abuja under Ali Nuhum Diallo. Then I want to state that peace that we have enjoyed so far before this recent happenings had been the product of ECOWAS Parliament, because we concentrated on advocacy. Then I was the first chairman of ECOWAS Committee on Foreign Affairs, Defense, Peace and Security. And we taught the entire sub-region. And don't forget that at that period, we were most of the 15 states or member states were under military, interregional military regime. We went round, we went to the Maghreb and Ecowas, the entire sub-region. We went to Sierra Leone, like my sister had talked about there. We were instrumental to the peace. Even during the Ecowas, we went to Liberia, we went to Guinea, Conakry. Even the Guinea-Bissau that has come back now as a hotspot, when Kumbayala was there, he used his power to close the parliament. The Ecowas parliament had to go, intervene, and make sure that democracy was established. Then you talk about financial autonomy today. The ECOWAS parliament has made it compulsory that member states are not by contributory contribution, it's by community levy. These are basic some of the achievements of the ECOWAS parliament. Today we're on the 6th legislature from 2000 to 2005. Today we're on the 6th. So what I'm trying to say is that the ECOWAS parliament has every reason to celebrate having been able to democratize the system. I agree with those who have spoken that yes, we are here to establish the parliament purely as a lawmaking body, because it has to be by direct universal suffrage, which we are yet to establish. But today, we know that we are member state represented. But so far, you look at the resolutions taken, you look at the like I said, peace achieved so far in the sub-region until these recent issues. You look at the financial autonomy, you look at even looking at, what do you call it, trying to establish the currency, called the convergent criteria to ensure that we establish one currency in the sub-region. Though we've been having problem because of the UEMOA countries, since they are operating the CFA currency. But we've gone far, and this is due to the advocacy of the parliament. So for me, like you've asked, the parliament has achieved so much, and we still have more to do until we get to the level of electing members through direct universal suffrage. If we don't get to that, we are still advisory, as so many people have said there. The parliament is still advisory, but so far, we've so good as far as I'm concerned.
Well, thank you. I like Senator Itaena mentioned a very important issue about national interest, and why members don't bring up national interest during debates. But the parliament is a platform where member countries come bring up issues of interest to member states for collective dialogue. So why is it that national interest is not usually thrown up, especially on the part of Nigeria? And then I also like you to speak when we do come back from break on another issue which Mr. Dabugat also raised, that's about being truly representative. But I'd like to take those two questions when we come back from this break. Welcome back. So I'll get back to Senator Ohabunwa. Senator, my two questions. The first one is, why are national matters of national interest not thrown up on the floor of the ECOWAS Parliament? And secondly, how do you track implementation? How do you ensure that member countries domesticate the resolutions or the laws that you pass if the members are not representative enough, as Mr. Kopeb said?
Well, first and foremost, let me state clearly that the parliament for now is for regional integration. And in that area, we've done quite a lot. But also understand that democracy has been practiced by the Anglophone side of part of the ECOWAS is different from what is being practiced at the Francophone part. Most of the states or the countries are not as democratized as it should be, especially when it comes to parliamentary activities and functions. Let's take Nigeria as a case study. Here we are very vocal. We are free to speak our mind and our voice. In most of the Francophone countries particularly, they are still being gagged to a large extent. They only speak the voice of the president or the voice of the executive. That is the problem we are having. But to a large extent, I think we are going to get off that once we begin to elect people by direct universal suffrage, where people will come straight from their constituency, elected to represent them at the Ecowas Parliament. Now, like you know, that what is happening, somebody had alluded to that, we are not by appointment, but you come from the Parliament. Like you know, we have 115 parliamentary seats, and 5 is on quality of countries. Then the remaining are based on population. So what I'm trying to say is that we are not as democratized as it should be. That's why when you see, when people bring their country reports, they tend to quote it with what the executive or the president of their country will want others to hear, not based on what is actually happening on ground there. But like I said, we've made a lot of effort. At the time we started, it wasn't like this. But now people can speak freely, people can come up with issues. Let me tell you one thing that happened at the time. Let's reflect on that. There was a colleague of ours from Togo. He came to the parliament, made a statement, stated exactly how things were happening in the country. The next day he was stopped from coming to the parliament. Under the leadership of our speaker then, Alidu Humdalo, I was the chairman then of Foreign Affairs, Defense and Security before I became the treasurer. We had to go to Togo as a parliament in protest and make sure that that member was given access to come to parliament. But after a while, he was removed. So those are some of the challenges we are having so far. But I know with time, by the time we get to the level that members are elected directly to represent their constituency in the Ecowas Parliament, I think our voice will be heard more. And as it's been said, it will Parliament of Ecowas, it will be the Parliament of Ecowas people. It will not be truly the people's parliament. Then you talked about the other one. Can I get you? Can you?
Yes, I asked, I said, how do you track or ensure that member countries domesticate the recommendations? And this is really part of the question I wanted to follow up. If you could, give us some specifics of ECOWAS Parliament recommendations that have been reflected, say, in our own national laws, I mean, Nigerian national laws, or maybe other member countries' national laws.
I've been away for a while, but like I said, I used the issue of community levy. Before, Nigeria to a large extent was funding ECOWAS and is based on contribution. But now we make sure that as a parliament, it has to be by community levy. Community levy means taxing the state or the country, the member state, paying a certain percentage of their export and import taxes and levies into the community fund. This was a resolution of the parliament, and which, as I speak today, has seen the light of the day, and that is what is happening. I can remember that vividly. And I also can remember, like you saw what happened in Cote d'Ivoire at a point. You remember before Ouattara came, though he's doing a different thing, the resolution, the parliament took a resolution that Gbagbo should leave the seat. And it happened. They respected that resolution. The resolution of the parliament is very strong, though I know it's not yet, it hasn't the force of law because it's still to some extent advisory. But that helped to push him out. We followed it up with advocacy. And again, another way of tracking is that, like somebody alluded, first you come with your country report, we align it with what happened the previous session to what your report will be. And in some cases, if we see that the implementation is not going the way as being resolved, what we do is that we move the localized meeting to that country, and hold the meeting there so that we can monitor and follow up what had happened based on our resolution. So these are the ways by which, before I left, that we've been used to track our resolution. But like I said, you understand that our resolutions are merely advisory. They don't have force of law. They are not binding. But we still, like I tell the present people, I say, look, you need a lot of advocacy. You need a lot of interaction, lobbying with the state government until we get with the states until we get to member states until we get to where we are going to. And the only way that the parliament can be fully and the region can be fully democratized is by the time we start electing members on direct universal suffrage. And that's why I'm supporting this celebration, this 25 years, because it's calling countries to come to a round table. Let's discuss where we started, what we have achieved, and what is there for us to in future. So it's a kind of time for introspection, looking inwards, and where we are today and where are we heading to. So for me, so good, so far so good. Like I've said, the parliament had every reason to celebrate, and I believe that going forward, things will be better for us.
Thank you very much, Honorable Senator Waboa there. I mean, the Parliament has a lot to celebrate, and it is time for you to look inward and also, let's go back to Jos now. And Kopep, I can see that Kopep, while Senator was speaking, wanted to respond to some of his what he said. But also, while you respond to that, we also want you to talk about this issue of economic integration and cooperation among member states. How can the Parliament support the implementation of this ECOWAS Common External Tariff and other regional trade agreements? What can be done?
Thank you so much. Indeed, I was following the conversation of Senator Mao very, very keenly, and I do agree with him that the ECOWAS Parliament has really achieved something. The fact that we have a parliament at the ECOWAS level is a great achievement. You know, the processes that are involved, the funds that are involved, so it is actually an achievement, a huge achievement. But from my own perspective, I remember since 2011, within the civil society across West Africa, we've raised advocacy calls to the ECOWAS for reform of particularly the ECOWAS Parliament, seeking the transmission from the current advisory status of their resolutions to a more representative as well as a more legal, so to say, legally binding resolution of the ECOWAS Parliament. But up till now, we're still there. This is like 15 years from then. So let's take 25 years. A child that is born and that child is already ready to start his own life as a separate unit. So what I'm drawing attention to is the fact that so far we've not seen any effort from the side of the ECOWAS to at least begin to move in that direction. Yes, the Constitutive Act specifies that they should be elected by universal suffrage, but there is also a provision that says pending when the arrangements for universal suffrage is made, the Parliament would be appointed from the national Parliament. This is a temporary measure that can come in at the beginning, at the setting up of the Parliament. But there should be a orientation or a target towards, moving from that level to a more sophisticated level. And that has never been discussed. That has not been done in any way. I think this is a very serious issue for the ECOWAS parliamentarians, perhaps to consider as they begin their second ordinary session now. This is perhaps one of the issues that they should be looking at. What, as a parliament, how does the ECOWAS parliament begin to move in that direction? And I think also there was a second question. Please, I have sort of missed it. Can you recall that for me?
Well, I'm talking about the economic integration and cooperation among member states. How do you think that can be, especially when we are talking about this common currency and liberalization of trade among the member states? Trade among the member states.
I think the first step has already been taken, and in fact, quite a long time ago, with the implementation of the ECOWAS Protocol on Freedom of Movement, rights for establishment in the different countries. That is a very, very important benchmark that has been laid. And also the adoption of the ECOWAS IETLS, the ECOWAS, the different instruments that guarantee the rights that are supposed, the economic rights that are supposed to accrue to the ECOWAS citizens. Good and fine. Now we need to move to the level of harmonization. You know, all these other elements that need to be activated at the within the ECOWAS to facilitate a higher level of economic integration and economic development along with it, need to follow a process of harmonization of legal laws, legal processes, you know, even infrastructure as well. All these are required to put in place, you know, the required regional economic community that we are aspiring towards. So infrastructure, which also, by the way, ties in with the continental plan of the continental free trade area that the African Union has put in place, has put in motion at the moment. Again, for the currency specifically, there has to be certain level of stabilization at the national level, at the national economic level. The indices of the indicators of inflation, the indicators of currency exchange, the indicators of even productivity and the movement of capital across this state needs to be harmonized. Again, for different classes of traders, there has to be, you know, different kinds of protocols that will help them to move smoothly. Let's say, for example, the cross-border traders, of which many of them are women. It is important to come up with, even if it is a protocol, for example, at the ECOWAS level, to say a protocol on cross-border trading, cross-border trade across the region. Because there is a lot of cross-border trade moving across the ECOWAS regions, and most of them are women, as I said. But this trade is not documented, it's not standardized. They don't have the incentives that are required to help them to establish properly. They don't, even the infrastructure on transport and other things are not, you know, very, very well standardized. Yes, the ECOWAS has that as part of its general development, which, by the way, is still going on with the development of the coastal highway. There are also other highways that cut through the hinterland, like from...
Thank you. Mr. Dabugat, thank you. Mr. Dabugat, thank you. Thank you. Indeed, there is really no doubt about the achievement ECOWAS has made in terms of integration. But of course, I like Honorable Sese to take this question. There's so much that can be done, because the real work is to ensure that ECOWAS transited into a community of people, and by so doing, what this entails is removal of all obstacles, those hurdles that prevent free movement, that prevent free trade, that prevent citizens of the community members from moving freely and interacting with one another. But Honorable Sese, I'm just wondering, ECOFEPA, I hope I got that correct, it's been visible, as you say. But how are you connecting what you do at the Parliament with, the women at the grassroots?
Well, that is why we have caucuses. We have different caucus in different parliaments. We have encouraged other honorable members to have those caucuses in their various national parliaments. So with that, we can bring whatever problems on board. So we discuss it as a family, and we can put things together, like talking about this what we call it, our advancement for women's proportional representation. This is one thing that we will achieve, because if we have a proportional representation for women across borders, across the region, I think it can help us greatly. But that cannot be achieved if somebody is not there to champion it. And who champions it is the caucus of that national parliament. And that is what we are encouraging others to do. That is another achievement. There are so many achievements. And if you don't ask me about to congratulate or the achievements, I'll go back and say, congratulations, 25 years child is a grown-up child. Now the child will be ready to start his or her own life. And that is what will happen for the ECOWAS next 25 years. I know we are struggling to have 30% in various national parliaments. As stated, Nigeria is still behind, and Ghana and the other countries. Only Senegal is far ahead. Senegal is 42%, and Sierra Leone is 30%, and we are encouraging them. Now, initially it was about 10% of female representation in the ECOWAS parliament. Now we are boasting of 26.something%, and that is a great achievement. By 2025, the next 2025, I know we'll be having 50-50. It can happen. It's just a matter of time, and to how to convince our male counterparts so that they can see and reason the importance of women, because we are partners in development.
Yes, you are really partners in development, and it can happen. Nothing is impossible. Just keep pushing. And once again, congratulations for the 25th anniversary. Now let's come back to the studio as we begin to wind up this discussion.
Yeah, in 60 seconds.
It's just 60 seconds. The issue of good governance, and accountability, among member states is usually has been the problem, the major challenge, and maybe that's why we're seeing coups and counter coups and all that in this country. What can the parliament do actually to promote good governance, among the member states?
I think what the parliament can do is to not just consider that whatever goes wrong in a country is a domestic affair of that country, because when the push comes to shove in that country, the ECOWAS parliament will be involved, it will be affected, because you are only a member of the ECOWAS parliament if your country is a democratic country, ruled by law, and the leaders emerge by election. So the parliament and parliamentarians, perhaps parliaments of other countries, should not just wait and see and look while the economy of a particular country is collapsing, while the heads of government of those countries are taking steps that are capable of endangering democracy, while the economic planners of those countries, of other countries, are taking steps that are capable of bringing hardship to the people of that country, and then they still say it's a domestic affair of that country. Because at that stage, when it becomes a question that leads to the collapse of that country, it will be a matter that will affect and infect the community itself, that is the ECOWAS community. So there are many things that we should not be taken as just being domestic or internal affair. The ECOWAS parliament should be concerned.
All right, thank you very much. So maybe we just get a parting shot from Senator Wambua.
Yes, I'd just like to ask you, Senator, what do you think can be done, apart from the advisory position of ECOWAS Parliament, what can be done to give it some teeth?
Well, first and foremost, like somebody said, we have to be our brother's keepers. You saw that there is implementation of the free movement of persons and goods. Then, and you know, the trade along the border is informal. But now we have to look for a way as a parliament to formalize that trade and look at if we could get to a point of financial conversion. That is, if we can't reach the conversion criteria, but how can there be exchange? If you bring CFA, if you bring Naira or CD, how can we have a common exchange rate? That would, to a large extent, help each and every country. And secondly, I think the parliament should advise the executive not to be hasty in excommunicating countries that are involved either in a military coup, which we know is an aberration. But first and foremost, let's strengthen our advocacy unit of the parliament with the executive so that we can approach these states and let them see reasons why we should be in tandem with the entire world, because military regime is not the in thing, it's not the right thing to do at this point. What is not in democracy? So to strengthen that democracy, like I said, the parliament voice should be, the parliament no doubt is visible now. We know that the parliament exists in every part of the sub-region is aware.
Senator Mao, I'm sorry, we've run out of time. We have to leave it at that. I would really like to thank you, former leader of House of Reps, former treasurer, ECOWAS Parliament, and Pro-Chancellor and Chairman, Governing Council of the University of Port Harcourt, joining us via Zoom. Senator Mao Wabunwa, thank you. I would also like to appreciate Honorable Veronica Sise, who is also President of the Women's Group in Parliament, ECO-FEPA, and Chair of the Gender Committee. She also joined us via Zoom. Honorable Sise, thank you very much for joining us for this conversation, and congratulations once again. All right, we'll also appreciate Mr. Kopep Dabugat, civil society expert and international affairs specialist. Thank you. He joined us, of course, from our studios in Jos. Thank you, Mr. Dabugat. Thank you very much. Distinguished Senator Ita Enang, former presidential advisor on National Assembly Abuja Studios. Thank you very much, sir. Always a pleasure to have you. And that's Good Morning Nigeria for today, Wednesday. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Well, do have a lovely day. My name is Ademola Adeoye.